So happy to be here. I'm feeling very excited the more that I keep getting like the chance to talk with people about this show. So I'm grateful to be here. How are you doing?
So I'm good. Are you calling in from Crown Heights today?
I am not. I'm currently in the Bronx.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
still in New York. I'm cat sitting, so I'm away
Oh,
from home right now.
oh, meow.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for making the time today. And it's so great to get to chat with you. I read a little bit about your bio. Is there anything else you'd like to share about yourself before we jump in and talk about your journey with the show?
No, I feel like anything that I was gonna say, you said about me. I'm also like I'm cat sitting, but I am also a cat dad, and that feels important to me to put out there as well. So I'll just say that. I think that's it.
Totally. I have a little puppers who's smaller than a cat. So sometimes I feel like I'm also a cat person.
Oh, I would love to also give a visual description of myself. So I am a person with light skin, short, dark curly hair, and I'm wearing a glasses and a white, green, and yellow floral button down, and I'm in front of like some plants and room decorations.
Yeah, we both got the floral memo today.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's
Always.
it's summertime, y'all,
Yes.
and where we are. So let's talk about the show How to Dance in Ohio. How did you first become involved with this, and what is it's there's quite an evolution that's with the show, being based off of a documentary and then being adapted and having a different run, and now it's moving to Broadway. So tell me, where did you come into the process?
So I've been in the process since 2021, when the first 29-hour reading was done. And for people who don't know what a 29-hour reading is, it is not rehearsing for 29 hours straight, just to be clear. It is you get 29 hours within like a week to workshop a show. So in July of 2021, which it was exactly 2 years to the date from like when I submitted to the Broadway announcement, which I feel like is kind of kismet. It's really serendipitous. I someone that I know sent me a casting call from Whitley Theatrical, who's the casting team for this show. That was just looking for autistic people to audition. For the show. They didn't give like that much information other than it was based off of a documentary, and I was just sort of coming into like being comfortable being open about being autistic. I was assessed as an adult around that time. So I auditioned. I got a call back. They emailed me saying that they wanted me to do the 29-hour reading, and they've kept me. And I feel so fortunate that they've kept me through all of the other workshops we did. The first like stage production at Syracuse Stage as part of their uh, what is that, 2022 to 2023 season. We did another workshop in January, and now we are here and we're going to Broadway. So I've been there for quite a bit.
That's so exciting. And
Mhm.
I love, you said earlier about the synchronicity and kismet of things coming together. And there's another one, just what you were describing, like you, thank you for sharing, about your journey and having this um, diagnoses, sort of right before you got this audition. Is that right?
Yeah, I it was like a few months before. I had been thinking for a few years, like trying to like have a deeper understanding of like things that were going on when I was like a child and how I was adjusting also. I'm a person who has combined ADHD, so that's autism and ADHD. So there were a lot of things that also, once I left the structure of school, became more apparent for me. So I decided to seek, after doing like, I did honestly, a few years of research and self diagnosis. And then I wanted to get a more definitive assessment for myself. Um, And so I did. And so it just felt like essentially like confirming something that I already knew about myself. Um, but having it sort of confirmed for me by by someone else. Um, and it was only a few months before um yeah, this casting call came up. I was in the middle of another show, and I had like we had just started, and I was very excited to like tell people that I had this like confirmation. And so it was someone in that cast who sent me the casting call. So it felt like all of these different blocks sort of connected with each other.
That's incredible. It's so wonderful to hear uh your journey with having feelings and you like you said, like self-diagnoses, then wanting more information, getting that what I like to call like reality checks from my team, it's like whether that's my medical team or usually my medical team to be like, why is the brain doing the thing that the brain is doing? Why
Right.
does everybody's brain do that? No? Okay, interesting. And then being like, oh, knowledge is power. Like now I have information, I can do something with this. And then you had radical vulnerability of opening up with people. And then that was actually great to hear that it's an empowering experience, which now you get to go to, you're going to be in a
I
part of the
know.
show. It's just like, that's like the magical story. That's incredible. So,
Definitely.
so talk to me about, so this is your Broadway debut. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Or as we like to call it, the debut in the business. And so you're making your debut as well as the director, many of the writers, a lot of the cast. How do you feel about making your debut for yourself, and especially alongside all these other folks that are making their debut? What's that feel like?
It is, I can't express enough how amazing it is to be making my Broadway debut with this show specifically.
Mm,
Um, for one, for one thing, it's like, yes, it's based off of a documentary, but like it's so like unlike something that I've seen. Like, yes, it's about like a normal group of people, but when is the last time or the first time we have ever seen this many autistic characters played by autistic people on a stage? That feels so incredible to me, and it feels like an honor to be a part of the team, uh, like bringing this to life. And I also think like even behind the scenes, it's so rare to be a part of a production, I think, that ends up being this big where accessibility is so in mind. Um, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. But I feel like it is unfortunately like a kind of rare thing to feel so seen and so listened to by like the cast, the crew, and the team. Um, and I there's no other group of people that I would rather be making this debut with. I think we're
mm,
all so excited to be doing this together. Um, People have changed since 2021 in some ways. The seven of us who are playing the seven uh, principal autistic characters have been here together since that first workshop, and so our relationship um, has only like grown. We've grown closer, and it's so amazing to be doing this together. I think we've all discussed like feeling a little bit like it makes sense, feeling a little scared, and also like knowing that we have each other's back, um,
mm,
and knowing that like the team from the production end to our director Sammy to the uh, writers, the music director, like they all have our back and we have theirs. So um, there is some fear there, but there's also like an ease with knowing, okay, like we've all got each other. So
mm.
fingers crossed always that everything runs smoothly, but it feels like everything just will fall into place together.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great to hear. To quote Little Red from Into the Woods,
Mm.
excited and scared.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know,
Sometimes they wouldn't
excitement
be
and fear,
doing.
they're neighbors, you know, they're
Yes.
like, they live right next door to each other. Sometimes they visit each other.
Uh-huh.
That adrenaline, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's so great. And it's so, I would love to hear a bit about, you know, it's so great to hear about, you were talking about being seen in this environment. And we, you know, we don't have to name names of like previous productions or anything, but like, how does it compare? What does that mean for you? How is that different when some shows when you're like, and then this show where you're like, what, how does that show up?
Sure. Um, like I will say that this isn't, and I have been fortunate that this isn't the first process where it's felt like this, but I think it's the first process on this scale, where I felt like, okay, I'm gonna be listened to and uh I'm and cared for. I think other experiences I've had which are similar have a lot of the times been in like um shows that I guess I'm gonna say like have been specifically like there was a show I did in what year was that? 2018. Um that was like it was about like Black and Latino kids, adult like in growing up, living, have being in community with each other in New York City. And it was also like we had neurodivergent people on the team. So that was before I even knew that about myself, but they had a lot of care that went into like cultural care and uh accessibility in that space too. So I was able to experience that then. But then on the other hand, with some other processes, I feel like you feel fear of even asking for a break, of asking for something that you need to make the process also run so much more smoothly, not just for you, but for everyone. With How to Dance in Ohio, you know, they have a room. They always make sure that they have a room that if we need to take a break, or even in the middle of a rehearsal, if someone's feeling overstimulated, like you can just be like, I'm sorry, like I need a break. Um, and they're like, great, okay, we're gonna hold right here. Um, because we are people first before we are actors. Um, and that is what I think sometimes like in I mean the art making machine in general, right? That we can forget that there are people behind the art. Um, and that our needs and our health and things like that are super important in order for the art to even come alive. Um, and there was something else I wanted to say, and I got lost in the thought of the theater machine. But
It's a big machine.
it's a big machine. It's a big
Yeah.
machine, and I love being a part of the machine. And I also just want it to be that like more people have the experiences like the one that I've been having as part of this production.
It's so awesome to hear that. The fact that you can take a break and that there's a quiet space when you need it, that's wonderful to hear, you know. And for folks not in the theater world or in showbiz, darling, it's, you don't just like calling to stop for a break is, you know, like you said, like that can feel like, oh, I don't want to get us off track or be the problem or any of that stuff, you know. It's, there can be so much baggage for some basic human needs. Like even if you just need to go to the bathroom, it can be like, well, we're in the middle of a scene, you know. And like, so I'm so thrilled to hear that you're in a supportive environment that encourages you to take care of yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah. We're already getting some great questions in from the chat, so we're going to try to get those. Someone asked, and this kismet is happening already. So someone asked exactly what you were just speaking to. You know, how does the team of How to Dance in Ohio incorporate accessibility in the rehearsal process? I think you just gave us one example. Are there other examples that have come up for you of incorporating the needs of accessibility for the rehearsal process? Is there also going to be something for people coming in to experience the show that we might see accessibility in ways that we haven't seen in theater as much?
Yeah, I know that for this show, um, there have been like there was at Syracuse, and they have plans on. I can't speak to everything, just as an actor. I'm not fully behind the scenes, but I know that they plan on having like sensory friendly performances, which means adjustments in lighting and sounds and things like that. Letting providing content mornings, and also I think even like what uh I haven't really seen that the team has done is post, like, we know that like the autistic community is very, very diverse, and people experience everything differently. So if there's anything that you might have, like, I know that the show is not out yet, but like if there's anything that you want the team to know, or any concerns you have or anything like that, like you can email to contact. And like I know for a fact that they like read, they read those emails and they take those things um into account. I think it is uh yeah, like super important to have like both those, those settings. I think there's so many people who are not able to experience theater in a way that would be like actually enjoyable, because not all shows take that into account. We want to make sure that as many people um that can come are able to like have different um ways to experience and enjoy the show.
That is
But that's
so
all I can
awesome.
really, yeah, that's all I can really speak to. That's all I really
Yeah.
know of right now.
No, that's great. It's good to, stay in our lane, but thank you for sharing for, what the
Yeah.
tech side is doing, and like sharing about the performances that'll be adjusted in some ways. Like that is also, not the norm for folks that are tuning in into the theater. That's so amazing that y'all are going to be doing that. So let's jump into the actor stuff. So you're playing the character of Mel. Can you talk about a bit about your journey with that character, and how maybe the documentary might have affected that, or maybe some different choices you made from all of that? Is it based on a real person? I have so many questions.
Yeah. I love talking about Mel. Yeah, I love Mel. Mel is the oldest of the group. Um, the group ranges from around like 16 years old to my characters in their like 20s. And they've been in the group since they were a teenager. They love reading and collecting and sharing quotes, and they also really like reptiles. And what is really exciting to me about Mel and their journey is that they're the only one that we see in the workforce. Um, which is not something I think we often get, is like seeing autistic people at work, and also like um what it is like to be autistic uh in the workplace. It obviously it's very different from person to person, but I think there are a lot of like um common autistic traits and things that sometimes can make being in the workplace a little bit frustrating. And uh there's a lack of like understanding or willing to meet us there, that I think Mel experiences in the show. um Mel is based off of someone at Amigo Family Counseling, but is not in the documentary. And I've never met the person that Mel is based off of. So I watched the documentary last year. This was during the June workshop that we did before we went to Syracuse. So there's some things from the documentary that I think um were sort of shaped into Mel's storyline. But I didn't really want to like watch the documentary at first because I didn't want that to sort of influence the way that I like have other real humans influence the way that I saw this person who's sort of a different character. Um, and it really did end up feeling like for Mel specifically that I sort of helped build them from scratch with Rebecca, who's the writer, and Sammy, who's the director. So I think Mel is a bit like different in that way. I don't I maybe one day I'll be able to meet the person who um Mel is based on, but yeah, not in the documentary.
Yeah. Yeah, so interesting. And I completely relate to that of not wanting like preconceptions of what this character might be, though they're maybe drawn from a real person or people.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, we're expressing our experience, right, through these characters and through the help of the writers and the directors, and like you said, building from scratch these people, and we really flesh them out. So I totally get that, totally relate to that.
Yeah, Rebecca Greer Milosic, who's the book writer and lyricist, is really like a force and an ear as a writer, and I love working with her because she made the process like, of course, she has her boundaries. She's a writer. This is her baby. But she was so and is so willing to listen to all of us and allow us to like be like, hey, like this is something I've been thinking about when it comes to like my experience as an autistic person and how I think that this would influence this character. And even like I had a, a few conversations with her about like the connection between autism and gender nonconformity and sort of the way that autistic people a lot of times like to question like, well, why is this the way that something has to be? That's not limited to autistic people, but I think that there's like a really like a desire to question things that exist, and so that led to like Mel being canonically non-binary, which feels like super exciting for me as someone who is also an autistic non-binary person. So it's really cool. um I've most of the characters that I saw, even like growing up when I did see them, who were autistic, were a lot of the times like teenage white boys who are it is important for them to be seen, and I also think it's important for uh people who are maybe more similar to me to see that as a representation of what an autistic person can look like. And I think that goes for like a lot of the other actors and characters in the show.
Yeah, that's excuse me, so amazing. And I'd love to hear, yeah, what you're talking on right now about all these intersectionalities that you are inhabiting, living, and experiencing. Um, you mentioned, being non-binary or neurodivergent, you're, biracial. Are you seeing, this is such an incredible opportunity that you're getting to be a part of. Are you seeing other shows, other things, like you said, like in media, in television, that are resonating with you? Do you feel like there's still room to grow in that? That's a very leading question.
uh I always feel like there's the minute that we think we've done it is the minute that we failed.
Yes.
I there's always room to grow. We are never too old to stop learning and obtaining new information and changing the way that we write characters. And um, I think I have seen so much more in terms of, yeah, opportunity and diversity. And also, we still have so long to go. Um, I feel like it's important to say that this is just like this show is not ever going to be the end all be all of autistic representation, and it like we can't expect it to be that. But it feels wonderful that like all of the characters are so different in the way, um and that goes for us as actors too. And we have um like I I again, like I don't know if I've ever seen an autistic person of color on like as a character
Mm,
um on stage, and we have multiple in the
mm,
cast. So I think like that's a beautiful sign of growth and opportunity. um and I think that there's like so many other aspects of autism that have yet to be written and will hopefully be written. And I think that goes uh this is where like the ADHD sort of comes in, and I just start listing off a bunch of things. But and I also think that it's like there was a question in the chat that I think was important and like kind of related in regards to like what do I feel is lacking in terms of in the industry in terms of like keeping disabled people in mind. I think like yeah, I think How to Dance in Ohio is a great first step in regards to like um they send out access need forms before each process because those change, and they're super adaptable. And I also like hope that maybe theaters will think more about, even like, I won't go on forever about this, but like I know that there are several theaters that have implemented like masking required shows on certain nights during the week, which I think is important because I'm also immunocompromised, and like immunocompromised theater people love to act and they love to attend theater, and so that makes it more accessible. And I don't think that like we don't have that as much happening right now. Um, so I think that there are like, to sum that up, there's always a long way to go. Um, and I am also very grateful for the direction that I do see the industry moving in.
awesome. Yeah, thank you for shining a light on Ashley's question. That was about where we can go. So important. And I'm just, we're about to wrap up, and actually Rebecca is on next. They're going to be,
Yes.
yes. So it's so great. We got this. It's a two-show day, friends. Two-show day.
Toot
Uh,
O'Shea.
I'm just curious, you're saying you said you hadn't seen, that you'd seen like an autistic, person of color on stage as a character. How does that feel for you to be, part of this show where there'll be someone in the audience, maybe younger than you, looking up, and maybe they're going to have this feeling of like, oh, I see me on stage right now. Like, what does that do for you in your heart?
You just saying that made me tear up a little bit.
Mm.
I remember when I was little, God, I was obsessed with the Brandy Cinderella. Um, it was the first time that I saw someone like, we don't look alike, but like I am a black biracial person, and to see someone who looked like my family members, to see someone who I admired be like a princess and singing and doing a movie meant the world to me. And so it is an honor to be in this position where I might have that, and I might have already had, I've had people who saw the Syracuse production who talked to me about like what it meant to them seeing a non-binary person or seeing an autistic person of color on stage. So um that's a very like, I won't let that be like too much weight on my shoulders, but I also it is truly like an honor and a privilege to possibly be that for someone.
Oh, so beautiful. Amani, thank you so much for making the time today.
Thank you, Hunter.
In your bio, I just want to highlight this on your website I went to, and you said, art as an act of love. And I really feel that from you in the way you show up, You have this beautiful, loving energy. You're such a delight to talk to. I can't wait to see the show. I'm in New York. I'll ping you when I'm coming. I'll let you know. Are you one of those people that doesn't want to know that they're there? Actually, I
Um,
ask these people.
no, yeah, just message me.
Maybe after the show, I'll be like, "Hey, I'm here."
After the show, yeah.
You're not thinking about it.
Thank you
Okay,
so
well,
much for
thank you
having
so
me.
much. Oh, thank you for being here. I hope we get to do it again.
Bye.
Bye.